Hello again. Here we are to talk about Float and CSS, and I've got a simple HTML document here, and it has a main div, so that's one div called main, and then inside there I've got two divs. And in the last video we used Float to get text to wrap around an image. This time I'm going to use Float to create a simple layout on the page and show you some of the pitfalls of it, right? So here what I want to do is imagine that I have a left column, that's this guy, and a right column. And I want the left column to be, let's say, 200 pixels wide, and I want the right column to be, let's say, 600 pixels wide. So the whole thing will be 800 pixels, okay? So how am I going to do that? Okay, well, first of all, let's give each one of these elements a color. Okay, so main will be, let's see, main will be background color. Let's make it, I don't know, how about beige? There we go. That's a kind of a plain color. And then, remember I said these are going to be 200 and 600. So let's give this a width of 800. Okay, so it'll contain both of these, okay? And then let's also center this main container in the page. So margin auto, okay? Now let's style left column. Okay, so we'll say dot left column. You are going to have a width of 200, okay? And I don't have any content. Now normally I wouldn't set the height. I would let the content set the height. But in my case, I don't have any content. So let's just imagine like we had some content there. And so I'll mock up that content by giving this a height of, let's say, like 400 pixels. Okay? And what I want to do is I want this guy to move all the way over to the left side. So I'm going to say float left. Okay? Now let's just test that. And actually, let's give right column a color before we give it any other styles, right? And then we'll give it a quick test, right? So we'll give this guy a color here, and we'll color it, I don't know, aqua, right? So we got like a blue one. Let's actually give the left column a color too. Background color. I'm just choosing these colors at random here. Let's see. Let's give this one sort of a greenish. Let's give it a different color here. How about cadet blue? I don't know. There we go, right? So the only guy that's floated is this column here, right? So let's give that a quick refresh, and that's what we see. A little weird, right? So the right column doesn't have any width, and the main column doesn't show up too because it doesn't recognize the float, okay? So let's give this column a width of, remember I said this was going to be 200 and the whole thing was going to be 8, so this will be 600 pixels. And then let's give it a height too. I'm going to make each of these a different height. Okay, so maybe I'll make this one like, I don't know, like 500 pixels or something, right? Okay, so we'll save that. Now we'll go back to the browser. A little weird, huh? We got this guy here, the aqua, and then we got this beige. Strange, right? It's not quite working right. Really, the aqua thing should be over here. Okay, so what happens? Well, since this guy's floated, the aqua box, the 600 pixel wide box, doesn't recognize it. Okay, so it just kind of moves up in there anyway and just ignores this guy. And then here's the beige one. Now the beige one recognizes the height of the aqua box. It actually won't recognize the height of the blue one, okay, the floated one. And we can test that. What if we did this? What if we said, instead of 500, what if we made this 300, which is shorter than the height of the left column, okay? So we'll save that. And now you can see that the beige box, it recognizes the height of the 600 pixel wide, the aqua box, but it doesn't recognize the height of this one, right? This guy just extends outward, okay? So there's kind of some weird, let's set it up now, right? So here's what we're gonna do. Let's go back here and main, this one is margin auto, right? So it should be in the center. And then the right column and the left column are both gonna have float, Okay, so before only the left column had float. Let's give them both float left. Okay? Wow, well that looks about right. Let's zoom out a little bit, right? So the left column is here, right? It's moved all the way over to the left, and then the right column is right here, right next to it. But I don't see the beige area, right? Let's do a quick inspection. So what's happening here? So here is main, and when I hover over it, it's a little hard to see, but if you look up in the upper left, there's a little thing. It says div 800 pixels wide by 0 pixels tall, and we can inspect it here in the metrics, right, or the box model, and you can see it's 800 by 0. Okay, so the main box is not recognizing the height of either of these because they're floated. Okay, so just remember that whenever you have a floated element, other non-floated elements don't recognize their height. Okay, and then the left column is here and the right column is there, and they sit side by side. Now they fit in here because this is 200 and that's 600, and the container here is 800 wide, so these just fit. If I made one of these, you know, just 1 pixel wider, it wouldn't fit. So for example, if let me change this to rules here. If I make this one instead of 200 pixels, what if I made it, 201 pixels, right? So now the total of this column and the right column would be 801, right, which doesn't fit. So now this guy is forced to go below, right, because he's floated, but he doesn't fit in the space here, right? Let's refresh that. So there we go again. So how do I get, and this question comes up a lot, how do I get the container box to recognize the height of these guys? Because oftentimes you want that container to go all the way to the bottom. And right now our main container is only, it's only 0 pixels tall, right? But I want it to be as tall as its content. So how can we do that? Okay. So what we need to do is we need to use clear. So anytime you have an element that says clear, it has to clear any floats. It has to go below the floats. Okay, it has to clear them or go underneath them. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have some element below the two floats here that has the clear property, and that'll force this main element to wrap around this guy, and this one will be below these guys. Okay, so what we'll do, and this is like a valid way to do this, even though it seems a little weird, I'm going to make I'm going to make a div, and it'll just be an empty div. And, I would use this even if I had other content in here. This one would just be empty. And I'll give it a class called clearMe. And then I'll style that class like this. I'll say clearMe, and I'll give it this, the property clear both. Okay? So I'm saying like, hey, if there are any floats that appear before or above this one, then this guy has to clear them or go underneath them, okay? And then since this has to go beneath them and it's not floated, the main div will see this because he's not floated, and it'll have to wrap around this guy, okay? So we'll save that and then we'll test it. Oh, look, now there's our beige color. So the clearMe div is way down at the bottom here. It's 0 pixels tall though, so you can't see it, right? So it's just, 800 by 0. So it's just like kind of an invisible line right here, but it has to clear the two floats, so it has to go below them, and then the wrapper right here has to wrap around that guy, so it actually goes all the way to the bottom now. Okay, so anyway, there's a quick way to do a 2-column layout with float. Why don't you try doing this on your own and changing the size of the columns? And then also try doing a 3-column layout in the same way. See if you can do a left, middle, and right column. Okay? Thanks for watching.